Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Build Your Best Life with Deborah G. Smith. My platform is designed to assist high school age and young adult males as they follow my basic principles to overcome obstacles from their personal lives and society to build their best lives. I believe it is better to train early rather than to fix later. I'm excited today as we have our monthly parent chat. And today I am blessed to have Miss Tonya Sepulveda.
Yes,
And I'm going to introduce Tonya, tell you a little bit about her, and we're going to get started this month. We're talking about our young men being Black in America. But Tonya is a wonderful woman of God. She has two daughters. They are 18 and 15 years old, and she has been married for almost 19 years. She has been working in youth ministry for just about 6 years, with a few years of children's ministry before that. Currently, Tonya is an assistant teacher and works with the sixth graders while mentoring students of higher grades. She also is in the process of obtaining her BA in liberal arts. In her spare time, Tonya loves to exercise, read, and watch a good movie. Me too. That's my favorite pastime. However, she has always had a passion for helping, encouraging, motivating, and growing young people. They are our future, but we have to help them identify who they are in Christ now and walk with them as they journey into their calling and purpose. So welcome, Tonya.
thank you so much for having me, Miss Deborah.
You are welcome. I know I just told everybody about you, but do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself? Maybe something I didn't share?
Well, I mean, you hit everything. I do have a strong passion for building up young people. Just like I had mentioned, they are our future. And even now in the early stages of being a teenager or a young adult, they need mentors, they need coaches, they need people that are going to come along beside them and help them and motivate them and mold them, and just teach them who God says they are. And so I am just thankful for my calling and my purpose and this platform. I love what you are doing. Reaching young people early is a great thing, and it's a great way to start.
Well, thank you so much. I am so happy to have you on today. And welcome to Jocelyn Charles and Dan Smith. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please go ahead and share this video with someone that you think would benefit from it. But I thank you for tuning in today. Today we're going to talk a little bit. Our topic is going to be son, fair is not always fair. Son, fair is not always fair. And we all know the things that we hear whenever we turn on the TV, the radio, look at a newspaper, or just sit down for 1 minute, you hear someone talking about the things that are going on. So Tonya, what would a conversation sound like coming from you explaining that phrase, son, fair is not always fair?
Well, we need to find out, depending on the age of our child, of our son, what is fair to them? What is it that they're seeking when we're asking that question? Is it something that's going on in school? Is it in the workplace? Is it even in the home among siblings? So, son, fair isn't always fair, even though we know that it's right. Just like you mentioned, the things that we see on TV, it's not fair. Favor isn't fair. And it's difficult to explain that to a young person, but it's teaching them also to realize that things are sometimes going to be difficult, and that we're going to have to work a little harder. We're going to have to prove ourselves. We're going to have to show people that there is good and that they are capable of achieving and being more than the statistic or the stereotype. And so I think, teaching our sons that fair isn't always fair may be a part of life, and it may not always be right. But they have what it takes to persevere and to endure and to still accomplish what God has set before them.
Okay, sounds good. Now, their situations of unfair treatment have been spreading like wildfire during 2020 and 2021. George Foreman, um, it's just too many names to mention. Brianna, just everywhere we turn around. And it's not something that just started in 2020. It's been happening for years, down in Florida, we had a couple of incidents. One young man, Mr. Davis, he was just with his friends playing music, and the guy didn't like that he had loud music and wanted them to turn it down, and then just began to shoot it at this vehicle with these young men in it, and killed one of them. And I realize that you have daughters, but I know that you work with young men in your youth ministry and here and there at church. So from a parent's perspective or an educator's perspective, how do you think that makes a young man feel to see these things happening?
From both the parents' perspective and an educator's perspective, obviously we know that what we see on TV is kind of birth hatred. It's going to birth anger, and righteously so. I completely understand that. It's frustrating, and we realize and we recognize that those things are not good. They're not of God. I'm sure, it's just speaking to some of my students, they're angry about these things, and on top of that, they're fearful. It births some fear in there. As much as they know that it's not right, we know these injustices are completely wrong. There's also a seed of fear in there, because they think, what about me? What if I'm next? And a lot of my friends are Black, and I was talking to one of my sister friends today, actually, as I prepared for this. And she's got 2 sons and a daughter, and I love them like family. And she shared a story with me. They were coming home one night after church, leaving Bible study, and her son was wearing a hoodie, got out the car and was walking to the apartment, and was approached by a security officer and was questioning him. And mom is in the car. Mom is in the car. She's watching this transpire before her. And she got out the car and she approached the security officer and was like, what is the point of this? My son is walking to our apartment, and he was targeted just for wearing a hoodie. And we know that this is bad. So not only does it birth anger, but that fear, and it's uncalled for. These are things that they shouldn't have to be feeling. These are things that they shouldn't have to be going through because of the color of their skin. So I know, just from conversations with my students, there was a lot of anger. There is a lot of anger, and understandably so.
Yes, and they have to, repeatedly see this going on, and it appears, well, is anything going to happen? Is it going to change or whatever? But it continues to, happen. And it, like you say, it stems from hatred, when we all should know. It's funny how someone can say, oh, I'm a Christian, but at the same time, you can hate someone. And, someone differently because of the color of their skin. That makes no sense. But, I guess when you have that much hatred in yourself, it doesn't matter. But I don't understand how they can really call themselves Christians, I guess is what I'm getting at. Because, people can do something to me, but there's no one that I can think of that I hate. I'm saying I would do anything to them unjustly because of how they act. So I know that is more or less very, very hard. Young men, they want to go out, they want to have fun, they want to wear what they want to wear. But as a parent, you have to, put those limits down, and you can't allow them to do some of the things that, they want to do. Like my youngest son is 20, 28, 29. And, I was telling him these things back when he was a teenager. You can't do this. You can't dress like that. This is what you have to do. This is how many friends you can be with. So it's just really sad that these things continue to go on year after year after year.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to change.
Yes. And we know that in the Bible it says that the Lord will heal our land when his people repent and turn from their wicked ways. Then he'll heal our land. And until our nation gets to a point of repentance and turning from our wicked ways, those acts of injustice are sinful. And until our police officers, our government can face the truth and can turn from those ways, then will we see, good things happen in our country. And I find it so hard because we want what's best for our young men. And just like you said, having to train them from an early age, again, talking with my brothers and sisters, teaching their sons, if they get pulled over, how to respond and how to act. It's saddening to me because I don't have to teach that to my daughters. But had I had a son, that's something that I would have to enforce. That's something that I would have to teach them. And so I think it's very unfair that my Black brothers and sisters have to train and have to prepare for the same world that I live in a completely different way. And so just working with young men and teaching them and talking with them and helping them along with those things, just like you mentioned, wanting to wear the things that they want to wear, and the stereotypes that are put on these young men, it's just disheartening, just because of not only the color of their skin but the way they want to dress. I mean, it's injustice. And so we have to come along their side and just train them and help them make the right choices, I guess, for a society that doesn't understand them.
All right. Yes. And I want to give you a shout out right now as an educator. We have in our comments, Tonya is an awesome teacher and mentor to our youth. That's from Miss Jocelyn Charles. So thank you so much for the work that you do with the youth at your church, as well as those that you're teaching. So, we could not get as far as we've gotten. We could not educate our kids without someone taking the time, reaching out from an educational standpoint, whether it be, in the secular area or school or in church. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Do you feel that young men tend to be more reckless when they are hanging with friends? And how does this risk escalate, do you think, if they are young men of color? So that whole, acting
that
out.
First question I thought was really funny, because I think not just young men, but any young person can be reckless when they're hanging with their friends. If there's not an adult around, if someone in authority isn't around, of course, they're going to want to do what they want to do. They're going to want to push the limits. They're going to want to, just see what they can get away with. And what's difficult, the second question was, does the risk escalate if they're young men of color? It's very sad to say, but it does. It's simple things. There's a target on our young men's back that shouldn't be there. So, for instance, if a group of non-Black boys are at the park, people aren't going to see it as a threat. But if you see a group of Black young boys at the park, or Black and brown, Hispanic and brown young boys at the park, what's going on? Is there about to be a fight? Are they, what are they doing? Are they selling drugs? What's taking place? All because of the color of their skin. And so it's very sad that we live in a country, in a world that puts these stereotypes on our children. I strongly believe that what we say about our youth can manifest. Being a Christian and being a believer, I strongly believe in building them up. So I teach my kids, even at school, don't be a statistic. Don't fall in to a statistic. Don't prove them that that's what you are. Just because the statistic says this doesn't mean you have to be that. You are more than what the world says. You are more than what our society is saying. You are more than what America says you are. And so it can escalate if their activities, if what they're doing leads that way. So I strongly encourage my boys, make the right choices. Do the right things, be respectful, be kind, be generous, be giving, and don't fall into what they say you are. If they say you're loud and rowdy and you're acting loud and rowdy, honey, you can't get mad because you're living up to that statistic or that calling. So be different. And so it can escalate regardless of the color of skin. Young people are going to want to try to push those limits. And I know this from being in the school system and being in the classroom every day. They're constantly pushing it. And so in our youth group, it's about 95% Black young men. But in my classroom, it's about 95% Hispanic young men. So I get like a full range every week of what it's like to deal with these guys, and they're fun and they're growing, but it's helping them. We have to help them make the right choice. And so, pull your pants up, son. Why are you wearing them like that? Don't be like the world wants you. They don't fall into that. Or don't portray yourself the way the world wants to see you. Be better than that. And so, of course, that risk is high when they want to get with their friends and be young people.
As you were talking, I thought about two things. The first one, you were saying, young man, why are you, pull your pants up, whatever. And I was having a conversation last week, and so that was a question I had, like, years ago, it was okay for someone to say, hey, pull your pants up, or, young man, tie your shoes, you're gonna fall down. And I had that question, well, is it okay to do that nowadays? Because, sometimes when you say things to people, young people or a little older people, they, blow it completely out of proportion. Because my husband used to do that. He would be going down the street and he'd stop the car. Young man, pull your pants up. And I told him one day, I said, look, you're going to stop doing that because people don't react like they used to. Sometimes you can say things and sometimes you can't. Now, what is your thoughts about that? I heard you say that you do that, but I mean, is it in certain environments or are you just comfortable doing it?
I don't know if I would tell a stranger that, but definitely in the classroom and in our youth room. I think in our youth room, our boys are pretty well respectful. And in anywhere in the school, whether they're in my class or any grade above, I'm willing to tell them. I really wish our young men knew where that came from. And I don't even know if I should share that, but it's not from a good place. And if they knew that, I don't think they'd walk around. So it's from the jailhouse. When one man wanted to get with another man, he dropped his pants a little, to tempt them and to say, hey, this is available. So if our young men knew that's where it really came from, I would hope they wouldn't do it. And I'll share a story, and I don't know if my aunt would see it, but my cousin, young Hispanic guy, was, he left our house and his pants were, I was like, boy, if you don't pull those pants up, I'm going to tell you where it came from and what you're inviting in. And so they may not see it. They may think it's cool, but nobody wants to see that. Young ladies are not attracted to that as much as they want the girls. Nobody wants to see your underwear, honey. Like it's yucky. And I tell my boys, it's yucky. Doesn't, your mama washes your underwear. I'm sure you don't. So I'm very forward with my students. I'm forward with my young people. both girls and boys, because I I feel like I do it in a loving way. I can be funny about it, bring in the word, share what God has to say, and then it may not be about pants, but as adults, I don't think we should be afraid to correct them. I think we need to teach them where it came from, what it represents, and just pray, hopefully, that they keep them lifted as we keep them lifted.
Yes, and everybody on in the comments are saying, yeah, we don't want to see that. No, we don't. Um, yeah, and I do believe that, it's important to have those candid conversations with all our young people. Like I said, my platform is for young men, but there are things that both our young ladies and our young men need to know. I know I am the children's minister at my church, but for years I was the children's director. But I would also intermingle with the youth. And this young lady came in one Sunday and she got on bedroom shoes. And I was like, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Ma'am, I said, don't you ever come out the house again with your bedroom shoes on. But I have some more shoes I'm going to change. I said, but you're not in your bedroom. They're called bedroom shoes. They are for the bedroom. I said, don't let me see you come in church with bedroom shoes on anymore. Yes, ma'am. Said, you're going to change shoes, just get some casual flat shoes. Don't wear your bedroom shoes at the house. Okay. But I mean, it's one thing, to always try to, well, not always, but try to correct people. But sometimes people don't know. So if they don't know, they don't know. So then that's why if we don't tell them certain things, they won't know. And then the other thing I was going to mention to you, you're talking about the question about, hanging with other people and what young people do. And I talk about that in my book, Build Your Best Life. But, that's one of the things that's very, very important to our young people, our associations, because you can think just because you went to first grade with someone and they live down the street and that's your friend. That's not necessarily your friend. And they can cause you to go down. So as you get to an age where you can understand what you're doing and right from wrong, you have to pick your friends. And if it's someone that's not trying to go in the same direction you're trying to go in, that's not someone you need to be hanging with. You just, if you're trying to go up, if you want to build your best life, you're trying to get to college, you want to start a business, you want to do something in the arts ministry at church, you want to do these things, and your friend, all he wants to do is, oh man, let's go over here and I think they got some radios back there and they don't have anybody watching, we could just take them. Anything that they're trying to do, if it's negative, it's wrong, then you don't want to hang with them. Because guess what? And I think that a lot of our young people fail to think this out, is that, you want to hang with someone, but if you are with them and they do something wrong and you don't, because you are with them, you're going down too. So you have to pick your friends very, very carefully. If I want to get in trouble, I want to get in trouble because of something Deborah did, not because something Tonya was doing. Let me get in trouble for me. So you have to be very, very careful with those people that you associate with. And not to say that we were all young and we didn't do some silly things as well. I'm not saying that at all. Because I know I did some things I had no business doing. But I'm at the age now where I know those things I did wrong. I know they could have turned out much worse than they did. God covered me and blessed me, but he may not bless you in that situation. So if you have someone trying to, give you some points, some basic principles to help you, you need to listen. That's why it's important that we share this information. Cynthia says, we teach young ladies their self-worth. We need more men mentors to teach young men their self-worth. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, we do. Yes. So as many, I say share, not just to share because Miss Deborah says, oh, please share this. No, I want you to share it to somebody it's going to help them. Because if it's not helping somebody, then I'm not doing anything. I want to help our young men to act better, to do better, and to go as high as they can. They can
Yeah.
reach the ceiling, and that's what I want to see.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know that they can do it.
Yes, they can.
And I didn't mean to get on that soapbox, but it's
It
kind of
was
like my
good.
passion. All right. Coach Ricardo was on his I think it was in January, and we were having this conversation about young men and young men in the church. And he made this profound statement: a growing child needs growing parents. And it was like, wow,
Mm,
yes. So parents have to grow along with their children. You know,
yeah.
the kids can't keep going and the parents stay down here because they'll be lost and they definitely won't be able to help their children.
Mhm.
So what are some changes in risky behaviors that parents have to deal with today that, they think are new? They may not even be aware of them. Can you think of any?
Um, yeah, absolutely. So because I work with sixth grade, that is a grade that most teachers run from. And the reason I say that is because it's the stage of a young child's life, literally, where they're going from being a child to wanting to be a teen and thinking they're grown. So some of the risky behaviors that I see a lot today, number one, social media. Oh my goodness. Social media plays such a huge role in our kids' lives today. um we recently, I was working with a young lady at school. Social media, that she was being targeted by a young man, and he was really, really pushing her to take that next step and to have sex. And the good thing is that she came to me and we got it resolved and we got it taken care of. But they are exposed to so much. That is a risky behavior. Thinking of a 11, 12, 13-year-old wanting to have sex at this stage in their life, I mean, they don't know what they're doing. That's how we have teen parents, teen moms, because of the access that these kids have on their phones. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, all of these things. Are parents watching these things? We mentioned, parents growing along with their children. I think it is so important that parents have full control, know every password to every social media website that their child has, that they are actively monitoring that, because kids are sneaky. It is easy for us, or for children, even us, I will say even us, to do wrong than to do right. Because we're a flesh, because we're born into this world, it's easy for us to fall into sin, but we have to make the choice to do what is right. And so for young people who don't know the word, who don't know how to live after Christ, they're going to fall into those traps very easily. And so, risky behavior that comes along with social media is, obviously, all the sexual content that's out there, cyberbullying, being mean to one another, hating on each other. And that even comes with race, like they pick on each other because, oh, their skin is darker than my skin, or, oh, even you're too white, pale face. And I've heard it all from both sides when it comes to social media. So that's a risky behavior. Wanting to leave the house, this sixth grade age, again, I go back to it. I can refer to it because I deal with it every day. Running away, boyfriends and girlfriends, wanting to be loved. What the world offers, the street offers. It's only a replica of what God truly offers. There's a book that I recommend. It's called The Blessing, and it's for parents. And I reference this book for myself included, and with my kids at school, because it talks about how children are after a blessing. Children are after a relationship. They're after love. And if parents don't give that to them, they're going to find it somewhere else. So parents, I guarantee you, if you don't have a relationship with your child, if you don't sit down and talk to your young man, to your daughter, the world will. And so when we're not doing these things, they fall into the risk of what the world has to offer. And so we have to grow. We have to be willing to have awkward conversations. We have to be willing to talk to our daughters about sex and the things that young men will say to get them into bed. We have to have the conversations with our young men about how to treat a lady. In broken homes where the dad is absent, who's teaching that young man how to treat a lady, how to treat their mom? And when somebody's missing, they fall into the risk of not knowing. And so there are so many different risky behaviors that can come up when parents aren't growing as well. And so I definitely encourage parents to seek the word, search the scriptures, seek God on direction on how to train up their children and how to raise their children, and any other educational material, books. I know a lot of parents don't like to read. It's difficult, but we have our phones. There are videos. There's great platforms like this one, Building Your Best Life, and parent chats. There are chat rooms out there. There are videos that will help parents, maybe take back control with a child who's gone that risky way. And so, I think about the prodigal son. Sometimes we have to let our kids learn the hard way. And I see that happen, often. And but we have to be willing to be patient and loving, and learn how to communicate with our kids. It can be hard. I think a lot of times parents are embarrassed or they find it difficult to have conversations with their children. But I say it all the time. Our kids are young adults in the making. These young men are young men in the making, and we have to be willing to sacrifice our pride and discomfort to have real conversations with them about their future, about how they should be growing and maturing, and really asking the Lord to give us the right words and the wisdom to share with these young people. So, just for those parents that are dealing with risky behavior, seek God, seek guidance, seek help. Go to platforms like this one, go to good books, and be willing to put in the work to make sure that your child is successful, that they're healthy, respectable, good citizens in our country.
Yes. And Cynthia says guidance for our youth should be from all people they encounter. Yes. And she also says that young people are so confused in all these situations that they are now saying they don't know where they fit in. Even stating they are a different gender, or they don't now have a gender. Right.
Yes.
It's very confusing.
I'll share with that. I had a student this week tell me that they are non-binary. So they, them, and this is a very young person. And so I don't know what type of reaction they were expecting from me, but I told them I'm not going to honor that because that's not what God says. They were created a female, and I will continue to say she and her, and call her by her name. And, I just asked, had they, told their parents? And she said, yeah. And I was like, okay. But just like Miss Cynthia said, they can seek guidance from everyone they come in contact with. So being a Christian, I'm going to love this little girl like a little girl, and I needed her to know that and understand that. But I completely agree. The world is so okay with things that are against God's word. And we live in a fallen world, and we have to understand that. But we also have to stand firm on his word. And I think it's very important that we do that. We can't lose our faith. We can't lose our ground when we come in contact with situations like that. And the confusion, we know that confusion is of the enemy. He's the author of confusion, and God is not. So we can always go to his word to give us wisdom and direction in training these young people.
Yeah, that's good. And, you mentioned about communication. You know, and a lot of times parents, they don't want to have those crucial conversations. They're embarrassed or,
Mhm.
well, nobody told me. Well, just because somebody didn't tell you, think about the mistakes you made or what you didn't know until you overheard some adult say something. If you know something, you need to sit down and have those conversations. But one thing a lot of parents don't do that they need to start doing is listening. Listening. Sometimes these children are trying to tell you something in their own way, but you're not listening. You're so busy saying what I said, and this is what you're going to do. You have to listen to them. They are screaming, screaming for help. Just like that little young lady. She may not, maybe
Mhm.
somebody, and I don't know, but so I'm saying what I think. Somebody could have just walked up to her and said, well, you know, you're not really a girl. And you know the mindset. If somebody says something enough and you start thinking what they say, you get that negative mindset, you'll start believing it. And in my book, I do tell a story about a young man, and people used to tease him and his friend all the time. Oh, you're gay, you're gay. They were just friends, you know, and they didn't know what they were talking about. But this young man is like, well, everybody keeps saying it, maybe I am. But he just happened to talk to me and ask me about it. And I told him, I said, well, if you are, I'm sure your parents will still love you, but you don't know. And so I told him about the employee assistance program. I said a lot of employers now provide that service for their employees, and they'll provide someone for you to go and talk with, and it'll be a confidential conversation, and it'll be helpful. To make a long story short, he did this, and you know it brought out some other things, but that wasn't one of them. You know, that he truly wasn't, and you know today he's happily married, has kids, and everything. He's
Mhm.
happy. But if he had not sat down and talked with someone,
Mhm.
someone, you know, to hear him, because he wouldn't go to his parents because he thought that they wouldn't understand, they wouldn't listen. I listened and I understood, but I said, we have to go and tell your parents, you know? So parents, please listen. And I know everything is not what you want to hear, but when your child comes to you to talk, please listen. Please.
Yes, and we don't have to respond right away. I think it's wise to sometimes, if it's something like that, sit on it, pray about it, ask God to give you the right words. We can't just blow up on them. The Bible says that there's death and life in the tongue, and also that it can stir up anger. You know, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So when we do that, we have to be cautious of what we speak over our children and to our children. And I completely agree. Listening is a huge part of it, but also taking the time to process it and then come back and give them a good answer. And them seeing that, like, okay, mom took some time with that, dad took some time with that. And they know that we're listening, truly listening, not just hearing, but listening to what they're saying.
Yes, good stuff. Okay, what are some tips to assist our parents in dealing with these risky behaviors we talked about? And I think you talked about some of those about communicating. I'm not sure if you covered it, you had any more, but I know you did cover some of those things that they can do. Did you have any others, or did you cover them all?
Oh, for communication.
No, well, I was saying there was, did you have some tips to offer the parents as they're dealing with these risky behaviors that are, you know, up now?
Oh,
That,
yeah, aside from communication, I do believe in having a village. So if you're not involved in your church, in a church, I would say getting involved in a church, youth pastors, youth leaders. We're here to help. We're here to assist. You know, we're here to listen, to help guide as well. There's always counselors on the school. I believe in that as well. Our counselors and our teachers play a huge role, you know, in our kids' lives. We're with your students, you know, 8 hours a day. We see them throughout the day. We see how they come in. We know when they haven't had enough sleep, when they didn't get breakfast, you know, they're hungry and grouchy. So when you're dealing with a child who's having risky behaviors, seek outside help. I really do believe that that's a benefit that can really help you and your child. I also believe in counseling. I may be a Christian and trust God, but I also know that I don't have all the answers. My pastor might not have all the answers, but a counselor who's willing to listen to my child and not be biased might be able to help, as they can step in and guide them and listen to them. And maybe my child won't be embarrassed to tell them what's really going on, just like they would be embarrassed to tell pastor or myself. So if you have a child who's going down a really difficult path, seek help. Parents, don't be afraid to reach out and let somebody know that you can't do it on your own and that you might need that extra support. And so I would definitely work your circle. If you have an auntie or an uncle, somebody that can step in, grandma or grandpa, somebody that your child might really respect, even if it is a teacher that's, harder, firmer, but willing to love your student through it, get that help. So that's probably what I would say. Aside from communicating, use your resources. Don't be afraid to get outside help, because sometimes it's difficult for us to handle it on our own.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And Cynthia says, we as parents have to be willing to open our ears and close our mouths sometimes so that we can look at things from an outside perspective. Very good. You and I need to talk, Miss Cynthia. You are on it. But yes, that is very good. All right. Before I forget, the book that you mentioned, The Blessing, who's the author of that? You remember offhand?
It is John Trent, Gary Smalley.
Okay.
It's John Trent, Gary Smalley, and Carrie Trent Stageberg. It's The Blessing. It's giving the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And the main thing of this is our children want our blessing. They're willing to please us and meet us halfway and do what we ask of them, if we turn around and give them our love and our acceptance. And so it's just a really, really good book. And it teaches us as parents how to bless our kids, and especially our kids that are maybe teenagers who we haven't been there and who we haven't been very supportive of. It really helps along that journey. So it's a good book that I highly recommend.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This has been wonderful. My final question I have for you. Do you believe that we will see fairer treatment for our young men soon based on the recent events that we've had? Like, we finally had a trial, although I heard today that it might get overturned. But do you think that we may see some changes anytime?
I do. And the reason I do is because all these events have shooken up the church. And I believe that we are praying for more justice in our nation. I also believe that things have been uncovered and revealed about people. And now we can make that change. We are going to be able to shine some light in some very dark areas. And I believe that as we continue to trust God, that we will see justice. And we're gonna pray that justice is served in every situation. But it's going to be platforms like this where we're teaching parents how to raise our young men and our young women of color to do what is right. And it's not just based on the color of our skin, but our actions speak louder than words. And I'm praying and I'm believing that God is going to make a change in our country. But it starts with us, the church, and just praying and believing. And I know we want change. And we want justice, and it's time for freedom, you know, from the oppression. And we might have thought we've achieved that, but obviously we see that we are not where we need to be. Um, so, you know, I think each act that we see on TV, it's only stirring the fire that is in us to pursue that change. And so I am praying and believing that we are going to start seeing fair treatment, that we're going to start looking past the color of skin and looking at the, we're going to see people for who they are. And so I do believe that we will see good coming soon.
Great. I surely hope so. Well, thank you so much, Tonya. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, ma'am. You know, other than just parents, be willing to listen, to communicate, and to pray for your children. Continue to lift them up, who they are and who God says they are, and that they don't have to live up to what the world standards are. But if we can get them to live up to God's standards, my goodness, what a generation we will see come from all this.
Okay, I think Tanya's having a little technical difficulty right there. Hope she pops back in. So there you go. Okay. All
It
right.
might be my internet. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So if you would please, thank you for coming. And if you don't mind, if you could share my information with Miss Cynthia, I appreciate it. If not, you can go on my website, www.buildyourbestlife.org, and send me a direct message. But I do appreciate you coming on. And of course, on my website is my calendar of events. It has all my social media sites that you can go directly from my website to those. I have a web store, and out there it has all my services that I offer, as well as my book. You can get an autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. It's built on basic principles to help our young men to build their best lives. And like I said, you can get an autographed copy right away. As well, if you want to get it in your hands today or tomorrow, it is available as an ebook on Amazon.com as well. And if you are in the Bahamas, Anastasia Smith has copies in the Bahamas for your convenience. And I thank everybody for tuning in. And please like my page. Follow me at Build Your Best Life, so that you can see some of the other things that we're doing in order to try to assist our young men in overcoming any obstacles they have in their lives to be better, because I know that they can be. And I want to leave you with this. As you travel on the road to building a better you, there will be distractions, rough terrain, and detours. Don't let any of these negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be a better you so that you can build your best life. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be blessed. And I hope to see you Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another live session.